in the sweater knitting club. It is not over till you block it, baby. I'm just knitting all the time. This is literally 1 week of progress. Hi cozy friends, and welcome back, or welcome if you are new here, to my cozy corner reading and knitting diaries. If you are new here, my name is Morgan and I love to unravel my anxious mind with my cozy hobbies, mostly reading and knitting. And on this cozy diary series, we unravel all the things I've been making and reading lately. So get cozy with a cup of tea and your knitting and let's unravel together. Let me know down in the comments what you are going to be working on while watching this video. First of all, let's talk about what I am wearing. This is the debut of my book club cardigan. She is finally finished. I say finally, I worked this up in literally 2 months, which is crazy. But this is literally my first time wearing it after the block. I obviously tried it on when I finished the button band and everything and the pockets, but this is my first time getting to actually wear it, and I'm getting to do that on camera and share it with you, which is so exciting. This is the book club cardigan by Sari Nordlund, and I knit it for the knit along hosted by the lovely ladies from Two Pearls in a Pod, Mathilde from Nestled in Knits, and ensoknit on Instagram. But the deadline for this is August 10th, which is approaching, and I am so amazed that I actually finished it in time. I really didn't think I would when I was starting this out, but I got so obsessed with this pattern that I just couldn't stop working the repeats. Like, I just wanted to do one more diamond, and before I knew it, I was done with the body and picking up for the sleeves. I am so happy with the yarn I selected. I knit this in Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the color Mink Heather. Now, Knit Picks is a US-based yarn company. I bought this yarn, and this was my only stash yarn that I brought with me from the US when we moved abroad to Australia this year. That wasn't for a project that was already a work in progress. I knew I planned to make a cable something out of this, but when Sari was releasing the book club cardigan, I knew I was going to make this with it. I had just under the meterage I needed for this project. For my size, it called for 1160, and I had 1100 yards of it. Well, I ended up using, I think, 1220 yards of wool. I ended up using 1250 yards of wool. So almost 100 yards more than the pattern called for, which is unfortunate, and a lot of people in this knit along are having this problem. I do hope she remedies that on the on her Ravelry, so that people have the yardage required and order the right amount of yarn the first time, because I did have to wait for more yarn to come in to finish this project, and it's just so frustrating, especially as someone ordering internationally, having to wait for your yarn and having to spend money for shipping multiple times. I made the size 3, and it honestly fits me perfectly. I did knit the sleeves a little short. They were like a little above bracelet length before the block, because I was really trying to save on yarn. I wanted to try to finish this project without running out of yarn. Honestly, I do think that one of the mistakes I made was going up one size on the sleeves. I am glad I did, because a lot of people in the knit along were talking about how tightly the sleeves were fitting. Since I did have to order more yarn anyways, I'm glad I went ahead and knit one size up, and once I blocked, the sleeves ended up being the perfect length. They have just a little bag at the end, which is perfect. It like almost feels oversized, but it's still a comfortable length. I'm so very happy with my button choice. I think it complements my cardigan really well. Another modification I made to save on yarn was I only did one layer to the pocket. The pocket on this cardigan is designed to have 3 layers. So you have the layer of your cardigan, and then you knit a tube for the pocket and kind of tuck it into the cardigan. I didn't want to waste that much yarn or knit that much for a pocket. Like, it just seemed really extra. So when I picked up the sleeves for the pocket, I actually immediately did an Italian bind off on the front of the pocket, and then I knit back and forth for the inside. Another modification I did on the pocket was, instead of doing the cable pattern repeat all the way down the pocket, I ended up switching to garter stitch after the first inch or so that I wasn't unnecessarily just knitting the pattern that wasn't going to be visible inside the pocket. Overall, I would highly recommend this pattern. It's so much fun to knit, but definitely buy a little more yarn than your size says it calls for and have fun, like enjoy the process. It is a undertaking. Obviously, it is a lot of cable work, but it is just a really fun knit. This was my first time doing a double knit button band. It was my first time doing pockets. It was a lot of firsts for me. It was my first time doing a cardigan in the round, actually. So I am really happy with it. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of myself. I just never want to take it off my body. I cast this project on at the very tail end of May. It was, I think, May 27th. The knit along actually started on June 1st. And I actually finished, I think, like August 1st once my yarn got here. Pretty much exactly 2 months later, which is pretty crazy because I still feel like a pretty beginner knitter, and anytime I take on big projects like this, I expect it to take a really long time. It took me basically a year to make my folklore cardigan because I kept having to put it down and learn some new techniques and then pick it back up. But now I feel like I'm just off to the races, which is so much fun. And I just want to knit all the garments. I want to knit all the sweaters. We will be going into spring here soon though, so I'm probably going to work on some fun spring knits. I will talk about my whips and project plans soon, but I actually have more finished objects. As most of you have probably seen by now, if you are not new here, I have completed my August sweater by Johanna Gehrisch. I've been wearing it in just about every video I've made since completing it. I'm so happy with it. The pattern is very fun, very simple and addictive once you're past the back yoke. I do think that the back yoke tripped me up. I did have to frog it once. But again, I'm a pretty new knitter, so this was my first sweater of this style and my first adult sweater. Period. Like, this was my first adult sweater that I have completed, which is pretty crazy because I have made several cardigans now, but I am so happy to like be in this sweater knitting club. I knit this in Maker's Cozy Wool in the color Brown Marl. It was the first yarn I bought once we arrived in Australia. We went to the mall and I actually stumbled upon a Lincraft, which is a chain yarn store here. It's a chain craft store here in Australia. And I kind of wanted to just see what my options were going to be. And in America, it can be really hard to find yarns at a chain craft store that aren't just acrylic or just other synthetic fibers. So when I saw wool options, I was like, add to cart. I did not even have a project really in mind. I knew I wanted to make a sweater with it, but I got this yarn. It is DK. It was 100% wool, but it is so cozy. It's a nice oversized fit. I did crop it, but once I blocked it, that also grew. So I'm just really happy with the fit of it and the size of it. I did knit her medium large, which is the middle size. There's only 3 sizes. This is not a very size inclusive pattern, I wouldn't say, but it is such a nice design. I love the stockinette stitches breaking up the cable, and the reason I chose this pattern was the cable raglan. It's such a nice detail and it just looks so good. I started the sweater in mid-April and finished it sometime mid-July. So that's about 2 to 3 months, but I also put this down for a while to work on starting my book club cardigan. So I'm still really impressed with the time frame in which this worked up as well. I've just really entered my like full knit era. I don't read as much these days because I'm just knitting all the time. But that's okay because I find so much comfort in it as much as I do books, and it's really nice to have a finished project and a finished object at the end, especially something that I can wear. And when I go places, if someone compliments it, I can be like, thanks, I made it. My next but not final finished object for this video is my Woodfolk beanie. This is the Woodfolk beanie by thepetiteknitter. I knit it in Patton's Bluebell Merino in the colors lilac and white, which is a 5-ply sport weight yarn. I knit the largest size on this, and I'm really grateful I did because, like I said, it ended up quite tight. It is not over till you block it, baby, because this hat was so small. My husband actually thought I made it for our 2-year-old son, even though it's purple. I mean, boys can wear whatever color they want to wear, but I made this for me, and I was honestly shook at how small it ended up. And I think it was because I was having tension issues with this being my first color work one of my first color work projects, and it was in the round, so I was just getting really tight tension when carrying my yarns. I'm still figuring out how to do stranded color work, so I had lots of learning during this project, which is really the goal in every project, and I really do want to take on more color work. But after I finished it, because it was so small, I got really discouraged and just kind of threw it in one of my project baskets and didn't want to look at it. But my friend Mickey, who incredibly trusts in the blocking process and believes that everything blocks out, kept telling me, just block it, it's not over till you block it. So when I was blocking my book club cardigan, I did pull it out and throw it in the water and was like, whatever, we'll see if it fixes it. I highly doubt it. I may just give it to my son or something. But I ended up laying it over one of my bowls so that the top of it could kind of stretch out, because I think what happened was a lot of the pattern repeats up at the very top didn't have much room to stretch out because I cinched it closed. But after the block, it fits really well. It actually is quite comfortable, and I am so proud of it. I didn't realize until after finishing it that I actually had messed up one of the pattern repeats of the color work at the bottom, but that's fine. It's a learning process and no one will probably notice but me. I definitely want to try more color work. I have purchased yarn to make a loom sweater from Sari Nordlund, so hopefully I can really master that technique as well soon in the near future. And I definitely want to make more projects from the petiteknitter, especially some of her socks. She has such nice sock designs, and I hope to try out some of those soon as well. My other friend here in Canberra named Heidi is knitting her budo socks, which is like a beautiful leaf motif all the way around, and I actually saw her working on it while we were having a knit and sip date, so I really want to work on those as well. My final finished object for this video are what I call my sweetpea socks. I followed a couple different patterns when working on these because these were also kind of a learning experience for me. I followed the I'm So Basic socks by Summerlee Knits, but I also was watching Woolen Vine's how to knit socks video when I was doing the heel and toe. The first sock is considerably bigger than the second because I was still figuring out my cast on count for my socks and what fits my foot. The first was with 72 stitches, which was way too big. Then the second was with 64, which fits pretty good, but I actually ended up watching a video from Nimble Needles, which is my favorite knitting YouTube channel to watch if I am trying to learn a new technique. So I highly recommend, if you are also a beginner knitter, study his videos like it is a knitter's university. But my second sock is with 64, and like I said, it fits pretty comfortably, but according to his video and doing my measurements and my gauge swatch, I should be casting on about 60 stitches for my socks. So going forward, I'm going to be doing that and seeing if that fits even better. I really love the heel on these socks. It's a lovely like slip stitch heel. I knit these in a beautiful indie hand-dyed yarn from Sweetpea and Sparrow in the US. I really love her and her yarns. This is in the color Highland Cow. I knit these in her platinum sock with merino, and it is so soft and luxurious on my feet. And the colors blend together so beautifully. After I knit the first one and it turned out a little big, I got a bit of second sock syndrome and didn't really know if I should reknit that first one or just continue on. But when sock week happened and my friend Haley was doing it, I was like, you know what, I'm having so much FOMO and I should knit that second sock. So I did, and I'm very happy with it. I am still thinking about maybe reknitting the first sock, but I also have literally half of the hank left over. I am thinking I'm going to make some shorties with this, and that would be a lot of fun. But I'm amazed at how much yarn I have left over after making my pair of socks. Another finished object that I've already talked about on the Cozy Diaries before, but that I pulled out and repaired a little bit this past month, was what I call my mossy cardigan. This is actually the Lazy Cat cardigan by Kutovakika. I love her channel, I love her designs, and I knit this from her Knit This book. She is working on her second knitting pattern book, but I do have the first. I didn't bring it with me, but I did take a picture of this pattern because I was working on this as a work in progress when we left the States, and all I had left was like, I think a sleeve and the button band. That I also bound off the button band extremely tight. So one side of my cardigan was considerably shorter than the other. So until I got up the nerve to fix that, I hadn't put on the buttons, and I'd had a bit of decision overwhelm with how to fix it and also what buttons to put on. I've bought a few pairs for this. For this specific cardigan, I bought a couple pairs of buttons, but I ended up going with these lovely buttons. I think they complement the pattern really, really well. It's so cozy and oversized. I did also crop this one. I think I need to reblock it because I re-knit that button band. But one thing about this pattern that I do have a problem with is I feel like it catches on everything. And when it catches, I can't just loosen the fabric back up around it because it's brioche. And it just kind of creates a line in the knitting where it has caught. It's a very easy pattern to knit up. It's very, very bulky and cozy. I don't remember what size I made, but I did make it in the Lion Brand woolies in the color olive, and I held that double. And it is knit flat back and forth, and then you seam it all up and you pick up stitches for the sleeves and knit those in the round. Next, let's talk about whips. I am so excited. My Aussie knitting friends and I have cast on a buddy knit. This is my first time doing a buddy knit, and we decided to make the Cumulus blouse by petiteknit together. Here is mine so far. I am so in love with it. The fabric that this mohair is creating is absolutely stunning and such a treat to hold. While I'm working on it, I'll stop and just run my hand over it. I'm so in love with this fiber. I am knitting this in Dolce by Sewick from Hobie Yarns online. It is a kid mohair and it is so soft and fuzzy. I absolutely love it. We started this last Friday, so this is literally 1 week of progress, which is actually so insane. I have never knit up a sweater this fast. We've done a couple Zoom chats where we knit together. We did a cast on party. Now we have officially all joined in the round and split for the sleeves, and it's just stockinette in the round for the rest of the body, which is really, really nice. It is so much fun knitting with them and doing our progress check-ins in our group chat. I am knitting the size large for this, and I'm just hoping that when I add the I-cord neck, it does make the V-neck a little less steep. But other than that, I'm really happy with it so far. I have yet to put it on a longer cord and try it on, but I probably will soon. And if I've made any further progress by the time I'm done editing this, because this has been my obsessive current knit, I will put on the screen the progress I have made around the time I'm going to be posting this. But excitingly enough, I am also doing a project vlog for this project, which is going to be my first project vlog. Usually I just like vlog whatever I'm working on throughout the course of a week. Maybe I'm working on a beanie and a pair of socks and a sweater all at the same time. But in this vlog, it will be all about this knit, and I'm very, very happy to be doing that and sharing the journey of our buddy knit together. Another new cast on that doesn't look very new, but is a current whip that has kind of been also put to the side while working on the Cumulus is my Storm Sweater Junior that I started not last weekend, but the weekend before. And I worked it all up pretty much in a week because once we started the Cumulus blouse, I kind of put it on pause. But I was literally doing the ribbing for the body of the sweater by the time we started the Cumulus and I put it on pause. So I think I'm gonna finish that ribbing here soon so that I can go ahead and cast that off. And then all I'll have left is the sleeves and the collar. However, I only have one more 50-gram ball, not including this, which is probably going to be what finishes the body. So I'm definitely going to have to hit up Spotlight and hope that they have more of this yarn. It looks like the location nearest to me doesn't, so I may have to order online. This is such a problem lately. I have been having to do games of yarn chicken with literally every project lately, which is so frustrating. I'm knitting the storm sweater in Annette Erickson's Scandi wool in the color Eucalyptus. It is such a beautiful color. I only bought 5 50-gram skeins. I'm so sorry about the birds in the background. I only bought 5 50-gram skeins of it, so I'm not surprised I'm running out. It's so hard because he's only 2, so it's crazy to think that I need to buy so much yarn for a sweater for him now, because I used to be able to get away with buying 2 or 3 balls and it would be done. But I'm so happy with how this is working up. I am knitting the size 5 to 6 for him, and it's just so addictive because it is a toddler knit, so it works up really fast. The rounds are quite short, and the only modification I've made is, instead of doing this rib repeat on this last round like the pattern calls for, I actually swapped it for the diamond repeat, and I did a second round of that down here before starting the ribbing, which I think really looks nice so that there's not ribbing above ribbing. But I actually worked on that while I was with my friends Mickey and Haley, which was really fun, before we started our Cumulus blouse. And then a project I recently pulled out of hibernation during one of my vlogs was my Arctic light sweater by Kutovakika. I actually pulled this out of hibernation and did a sleeve, and I hope to do the second one soon while the pattern is still fresh in my brain. But obviously I have some other higher priority projects right now. I am knitting this in Lion Brand's collaborative yarn with Schitt's Creek in the color A Little Blush. It is an acrylic blend, so I don't love the feel of the fabric as much as I do some of my other projects and finished objects right now. But it is very soft and I do really like it. So I think, so I am getting pretty eager to finish this and hopefully wear it going into spring here, because it's such a nice rosy tone. It's funny because I'm such a like naturals and neutrals person, but I'm knitting this and another pink project right now, which is like so not like me. Who is she? I seriously want to knit every pattern Kutovakika puts out. They are all so beautiful and so fun to knit, and I learn so much from watching her vlogs. She is just so inspiring, especially as a new mama who is running her business and designing beautiful knitwear. And then my other work in progress that we're probably not really going to talk about because it's crochet and I haven't made any progress on it is my temperature blanket. I made a video starting it and then I haven't really worked on it since then because I am in my knitting era and I never really feel like crocheting. Crocheting hurts my shoulders and hands and wrists so much more than knitting does. So I really think that's why I gravitate to it. But hopefully I feel more inspired to pick it up soon, because I did order myself a fancy new handcrafted crochet hook that I think I will enjoy working with and seems a bit more ergonomic. So I'm hoping to make a video soon where I'm doing like a catch-up vlog of working on my temperature blanket and getting in as many rows as I can. But that one is definitely taking a backseat while I am working on all my other whips right now. And then I want to talk about one upcoming project plan. I have done a swatch in Knit Picks Simply Wool in the color Winnie for my husband's cardigan he's been requesting. At first he was asking for this one, the Slade cardigan, but he actually changed his mind when I showed him some other patterns and he chose this one, the Mill cardigan. I will put the designer's name on the screen. I'm definitely going to be working on that one after I finish some of my other whips, and I want to give it to him for Christmas, even though we'll be in peak summer here in Australia during Christmas, which is actually so crazy as an American to think about having a Christmas during the summer. But I'm really looking forward to working with that yarn. I bought a ton of it when I was ordering from Knit Picks to get more of my Wool of the Andes for finishing my book club cardigan. And I made sure I'd have more than enough so that I wouldn't run into that issue again. And now we're going to jump in what I've been reading lately. So if you were just here for the knitting, thank you so much for watching and unraveling with me. But if you're also here to chat about books, stick around and hopefully you get a good book recommendation out of this video too. As far as what I've been reading, it's not much because like I said, I've been doing nothing but knitting lately. I did read Meet Me in Another Life by Catriona Silvey. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was really disappointing for me. It wasn't what I expected, and at first I was okay with that, but then it just went downhill from there in my opinion. And I try to have a really open heart with stories. I was expecting a reincarnation romance with this book, but it was actually about like parallel lives. So I got on board with that in the first part of the book, and then it just kind of started spiraling, and like I didn't really know what was going on, and it was like pulling teeth to make myself finish this book, which is never a good sign. So maybe it just wasn't for me. I hate talking about books when I don't enjoy them, because it's like, what's the fun in that? I don't get to recommend it to you. You're like, okay, I'm not gonna read that, and that just feels like bad vibes. But I'm also reading the Shepherd King series. The first book is called One Dark Window, but I am on the second book, which is Two Twisted Crowns. This series is by Rachel Gillig, and it is a fantasy series about a girl who is cursed with a monster living in her head, and she can kind of like talk to him in her mind. And there's also an infection in her kingdom that is in the woods, and people really fear the infected. And she has to keep it a secret that she herself is infected. And there are just so many fun dynamics and tropes in this series. There's fake dating. I mean, need I say more? The first book is good, and the second book is amazing. I'm only 25% of the way through it, but like from the first page, the writing style is even better, and you get new perspectives of the love interest, and it's like experiencing the story from a completely different perspective in this book, which is really interesting. And I just really love these characters so much. So I highly recommend this series if you are interested in cozy fantasy books. But my hold on the audiobook of Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, which is book 2 in the Mistborn series, actually came in. And I've never really read high fantasy on audiobook besides the Throne of Glass books, which I had already read on physical copies first. So I'm hoping I can actually like keep my focus if I listen to it while I knit or something, or do the dishes. But I'm probably going to swap between the audiobook and the ebook so that I can like stay in the world. But book 1, Mistborn, is so good. It was one of those books that like blows your mind at the end. And I couldn't pick up book 2 after that because it was just such a huge ending that I didn't feel ready. But Mistborn is about a world in which the bad guy won. Mistborn has one of the most unique magic systems I've ever read. It has a rich, beautiful world building. There is a rebellion, there is found family. The characters are just so complex, and I really, really loved them and cherished them. I didn't want to step out of this world at the end because of how much I loved the characters. And there is a lot of discussion of religion and slavery and just very big moral discussions in this series. It's a very dense and fun read. If you like high fantasy, you've definitely already read this series, so this is not news to you. But if you're wanting to dip your toes into the world of high fantasy books, I highly recommend starting here and give yourself time to get acquainted with the magic system and just trust the process of not knowing everything off the bat. But I think that is all for today's Cozy Diaries. I really hoped you enjoyed unraveling with me. Don't forget to let me know what you worked on while watching this video. And if you haven't already, make sure you tap the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future cozy videos. Make sure you do something that brings you comfort today, and I will be wishing you a very cozy week.